Community, Pastor Brad coming at you with another edition of our daily Bible reading. Excited to read from 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, starting in verse 6, all the way through verse 12. And this is what the Apostle Paul writes. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we command you, brothers and sisters, to keep away from every believer who is idle and disruptive and does not live according to the teaching you received from us. For you yourselves know how you ought to follow our example. We were not idle when we were with you, nor did we eat anyone's food without paying for it. On the contrary, we worked night and day, laboring and toiling so that we would not be a burden to any of you. We did this not because we do not have the right to such help, but in order to offer ourselves as a model for you to imitate. For even when we were with you, we gave you this rule. The one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. We hear that some among you are idle and disruptive. They are not busy, they are busybodies. Such people we command and urge in the Lord Jesus Christ to settle down and earn the food they eat. Now, as I read this, it sounds like Paul, as he's writing this, that at the very least, he's annoyed, if not even like mad at some people of what's going on. And the one thing that always stops me right in my tracks when I read this from the Apostle Paul is when he tells people, follow me as I follow Jesus. Like, follow my example. I mean, the strength of faith, the fortitude of character that Paul has to have to be able to turn around and look at a person and say, you are not following the example I set as I follow Jesus. Like wow. Wow, it always gives me goosebumps when I begin to think about it. It inspires me to move forward in my relationship with Jesus. And if I'm honest, it also makes me a little nervous. Like, I don't know if I can turn around and say to somebody else, like, hey, follow me as I try to follow Jesus. Now, I love Jesus. I'm trying every day to figure out ways to surrender all of my life to him. But man, I don't know that I've got what it takes to be able to turn around to someone and say, follow me as I follow Jesus, just like Paul did here. Now, the reason why Paul says to the people, like, hey, follow my example is because there were some believers who weren't following his example. In fact, they were intentionally not following the example that Paul set up here and what it means to follow Christ. In fact, they were being lazy. Isn't it frustrating when you're working hard and you're trying to complete a task and you look over and there's a freeloader? Maybe it's that coworker that always just skates by with the bare minimum somehow. And so they're just chilling. And it's just always so irritating, so frustrating. Now, I think it's important that we know the difference between someone who is unwilling and someone who is unable. And Paul is pretty clear about those who are unwilling. Paul says, keep away from them. They're not just busy. It's not that they're not busy. They're busy bodies. They're unhelpful and disruptive. Like, out of sight, out of mind, man. Like, get them out of here. And Paul commands the busybodies to settle down and earn the food they eat. Man, it's time to get to work, is what he's saying. This is exactly why our church family, community, us working together is such an essential piece of the entire puzzle, right? When we work together, what happens is that God uses us, the community, to help those who are unable to help themselves or who are in a spot where they can't help themselves. Now, this is not about working with our heads down, blinders on, only focusing on our little task right in front of us, whatever the task at hand is. This is about working with our heads up, our eyes open, to be ready and willing to help those who are struggling, to help someone who's feeling lonely, to help someone that's feeling left out, someone who can't quite get ahead. So it's simple today. Where can you get outside of your comfort zone? Because it's probably outside of our comfort zone where God is doing work. There's not a lot of moments where I look back and I go, man, I really joined God in this moment I really partnered with him in this moment to help somebody, and it was totally in my wheelhouse, or it was totally in my comfort zone, or it didn't require some kind of sacrifice on my end. I can't think of a time where that's happened. And so, most likely, we've got to get out of our comfort zone to help someone else. See, God doesn't just help those that help themselves. God uses his people to help those who can't help themselves. Like, we're it. We're the hands and feet of this whole thing. So who can you help today? Who can you help today? How or when? Like now is the time for us to open our eyes and to not live by a bumper sticker that said God only helps those who help themselves. To not live like that. Because the truth is, there's a difference between the unwilling and the unable. And the unable need us to step out of our comfort zone and meet them where they're at. And to serve them. So today, let's get out of our comfort zone. Let's find someone to help. Let's find someone to love on. Let's find someone to serve for just a moment. All right. Love you guys. Have a great day.